If it's not fun for you, if you don't like to DIY, then don't do it. Definitely don't do it. Hi, if you're new to this channel, I'm Letitia and I just bought my first home. We have a first home series where I take you through everything from our house hunting to buying, how much we bought the house for, to renovations. And today I'd like to talk about things I wish I knew before buying the house. And that includes like big picture stuff, small little things that we miss. Everybody says that homeowning is like the best thing ever and that you should totally do it because in the end it's going to save you money, but that's not always the case. So when it comes to finances of a home, that's obviously everybody's number one thing. Can you afford a home? Can you afford the costs that go into it? And there were a lot of unexpected costs. People always say, keep in mind of closing costs. There's a lot of expenses that also come up after that. But we live outside of the city of Toronto, so we're in the Greater Toronto area. Now, the city of Toronto itself, for some reason, has an additional property tax that you have to pay. So even if you're on the border and you live on the opposite end of the street that's considered GTA and not Toronto, you could be saving thousands of dollars in taxes. That's money that you don't get back just because you don't live technically within Toronto. So the areas that we were looking for is close enough to Toronto. So then we just scrapped it all together and decided to look outside of that. Another fee that we did not expect was the deposit. It's also called an earnest fee, I think. It acts as an incentive for the seller to take your offer on the house. You have to be ready at a moment's notice to cough up a lot of money up front. It gets absorbed into your overall costs afterwards, but we had to pay $45,000 up front within 48 hours of submitting our offer. It'll be a separate video about all the finances that went into our house, so stay tuned for that. This super applies to the GTA and the current market right now. You need to be ready at any given point in time to just drop everything and throw yourself into a bidding war. This also applies to going in for visits. There's an auto email that goes out to potential buyers that match whatever you're looking for in a house. So we would get that email at 3 in the morning. First thing in the morning when I wake up, I check all the listings that we want to go to. With this place, the same thing happened where the moment that we saw it go on the market, we were the first people to view it. We were definitely the first people to view it because there were no business cards when we got there. So the second time we went to visit, there were business cards all over the counter. So that's a good thing to know, is try to fit in as many visits as you can before you make an offer, just to make sure that you catch anything around the house that you've missed, you ask all the right questions, and also to see how many people are actually interested, because there is a chance that nobody's interested in the house and you're able to bid under the listed price and not have to overpay. The listing went up on Friday. We went to see it Friday evening as well as Sunday afternoon, and they said that they weren't accepting offers until Monday. We drove away on Sunday, and then as we were driving away, our agent calls us and tells us somebody put an offer in, which means that that person was ready to compete and pay a higher price in order to get into the house early. This is called a bully offer. They put in a really attractive offer that hopefully the sellers can't say no to, but this also gives the opportunity for other people to submit offers that are better, which then triggers a bidding war. We were gonna go home and think about it and then get ready to place an offer on Monday, only to be thrown right away into a bidding war. So all of that happened so fast. And especially during these times, it's just something that you have to be ready for. Also handy is to have a folder. You'll have documents and emails flying all around you, and having a central location for everything will help a lot with that. So for example, we have water bills, property tax bills, deposit receipts, wire transfer receipts. When it came to viewing houses, I think it's a very exciting process. There's a lot of emotions involved, and oftentimes you'll miss a lot of things during the viewing or you'll forget. I took the camera and I vlogged everything that was going on because I was making this series, but I was very, very glad to have brought the camera along, because when I'm at the viewings, I'm thinking about so many things. The agent is telling me things. We're trying to look for everything that we can within that one visit. If you're looking at multiple homes, it's always good to look back and compare different features of the house, what you like, because your needs might change as you're looking for your house, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. Bonus points is if you track the sale prices of each house. So that's what I did. I had a spreadsheet going of every address that we visited, the list price, as well as the final sale price. There are benefits in tracking the sales prices of your previously listed, because then it gives you an idea of how much maybe you should bid on an offer for your home, or if you are within the price range that you're comfortable with. Another thing to look for is to compare similar homes in the neighborhood. It provides information so that you know how much to bid on the house and what your ceiling is and how much your house should be paid for. So when it comes to your agent, your agent does play a big factor on whether you win the house or not. How they conduct themselves professionally and how they are around you is very important. We submitted an offer. You can see the seller's name. So we looked up their name and we found out that the previous owner was also a mechanic. Our agent does this for everybody, but he told us that he's writing up an email telling them that, we're a young couple buying our first home, because this seller was also a young couple when they bought this home. And we let them know that Stefan was also a mechanic. When they accepted our offer, our agent told us that the couple was really happy to hear that this is going to a first-time home buyer, that it's a young couple that will really love the home. So even in the middle of a pandemic, even though we don't meet the sellers, we still have never met the sellers, we were still able to play to some emotional side of it. Another thing that agents will not tell you, because obviously, and we only learned this from a relative, your agent can offer to give up a cut of their commission so that you can place a higher offer on the home. There is a last-ditch effort, is what I'm saying, in helping you win that home. So definitely make sure that your agent goes that extra mile for you. So once you've closed on your home and you're getting ready to move in and everything, you have to get house insurance. I highly, highly recommend you to shop around. I know that it's an extra effort, but there was such a huge price difference. We were hoping that with our existing insurance company that we were paying car insurance for, that they could give us a package deal that included home and car insurance. Car insurance was gonna go up by $300 a month. And then home insurance on top of that was another $300. But then the one that we ended up going with, we now pay $65 for home insurance alone. So definitely take that into consideration. Just because you're paying cheap insurance now doesn't mean that it can change or that they can give you a good rate just because you're an existing customer. This is evidence that I have lived a very sheltered life, but I didn't know that there was such a thing as gas payments as well as water and electricity. So before, in an apartment, heating, cooling, water, and electricity was about $75 a month for us. Now it's like $75 per bill. Outside temperature right now is 10 degrees and I am wearing 2 long sleeves in the house. Not only is it that we have a house and it's a bigger space that we need to heat more, but because our appliances are older, they're not as efficient, which means that we have to run it a bit better. One thing that we didn't check when we moved in, we came in and we were like, oh, that's great. There's a microwave above the stove, which is nice. It clears out counter space. And there's a vent fan attached to the microwave. Perfect. Only to find out that all of the ventilation system in our house, including the bathroom, runs back into the house. This does not go outside, it just pushes air back in. There seems to have been a ventilation system before and then they rerouted it and now it's, I don't know. The bathroom vent will push air to the bathroom next door and vice versa. And then this just pushes back into the kitchen, especially when it comes to cooking and taking a shower where there's a lot of steam. This will definitely be something that I'll be checking for in the future to make sure that it actually goes somewhere, because this can be a costly fix. So if you're like us and you bought a fixer-upper and you plan on renovating yourself, there's a lot of things to consider, especially as people that have never done it before. The biggest advice that I have is that whatever time you think it takes to renovate something, at least double it, at least. Before we moved in, we had a few friends help with a lot of the things. It seriously saved us days and days of labor. This was when we were allowed to have a bubble, when we were allowed to have people over at the house, and then everything shut down. So everything that we're doing is now up to just the two of us. And it's a lot. It's a lot, especially when both of us have full-time jobs. We don't have children, so we're very lucky to have unfinished projects lying around the house. Like this is, we have the flooring done, but the stairs are not done. Of course, it's not ideal. You would love to be living in a beautiful home right away. But this is the reality of DIY renovations, is that nothing is going to go according to plan. And I think this house is just going to be one of those where there will always be unfinished projects until the day that we move out. Which leads me to my next point. We're currently working on the backyard right now. So we're hoping to build a deck out here and pave everything. And I started by ripping up all the interlocking and digging everything up. It's very labor intensive, the most labor intensive reno that we've done yet. Take all the time you need. If you do have the luxury of time, work when you want to work, don't work when you don't want to work. That has definitely made this super exciting from beginning to end for us. We get to put in like 4 hours a day versus working morning to night on this. Something that will apply when it comes to like getting married and having a wedding is that part of the enjoyment of the final product is knowing that the process was fun as well. If it's not fun for you, if you don't like to DIY, then don't do it. Definitely don't do it. Especially when it came to adjusting from living in an apartment and moving into a house, a multi-level home, there was a lot of space to fill. If you love home decor like me, you're definitely going to want to fall into it and fill out the space as soon as you can and have a beautiful home to enjoy. But I would say aside from the necessities, don't rush into buying furniture. You might think that you want to upgrade certain pieces and change it up for the home, but you don't know until you live in the house and you've lived in the house for a while if your furniture meets the needs of your living. So you live out of boxes for a while. It's not that big of a deal. We're still living off of foldable dining chairs. Of course, I would love my dining area to be beautiful, and it's my full-time job to be capturing beautiful content and making things look pretty, but the reality is that I can't afford to furnish an entire house right away. And the dining area is the last place in the house that we use. So I'm not in a rush to find dining chairs until I find a good deal. And if you can buy secondhand, buy secondhand. The same theory applies for renovations. 100% painting and flooring needed to be done before we moved in. It saved so much time. It saved us having to work around furniture and work around living in it. I thought that the kitchen layout was not good, and I thought that it wouldn't work with our lifestyle, but it kind of does. We were thinking of like ripping up the entire kitchen, getting new cabinets and everything, but the more that we live in it, I'm pretty sure that we're not going to do as much to the kitchen as I thought. Moral of the story is that homeowning might not be for you. There's a lot of things to consider. There's a lot of expenses that are just like renting, where it's money that doesn't go back into the house and it's just money that disappears. So if you're thinking of buying a house just because people are telling you that getting your hands on investments is great and real estate is great and having equity is great, it's not necessarily the right move. TLDR is that it's going to cost a lot more than you've ever expected. And if you're not a DIYer, be prepared to hire professionals that will take care of it for you. Some people are willing to pay for the convenience of things, and that's totally valid. But if you're cheap like me and you enjoy DIYing, definitely follow along on this journey. Be sure to like and subscribe to this video so you can get more home content. And you can find me on all social at Letitia Q, including Instagram and TikTok. And I will see you guys next time. Bye.